Hi, and welcome to Diversity in the Community. I've had many guests on my show, but this is really a special, personal one. Today, my special guest is my cousin, and I don't call her cousin, I call her sister cousin because she's as close to me as a sister. And today, I would like to welcome to the program Gwendolyn Richardson. Welcome, welcome, cousin.
Thank you. It's glad to be here, cousin sister.
I am so happy to have her here. We've been glued together since we were children. I'm a year older than her, and she's just really special to my heart. So I actually bought some tissue today, and just in case I get a little full or teary-eyed, because it has certainly been a journey with me and my cousin. Um, Now, I know cousin sister Gwendolyn. I know that you were the first in our family to attend college. How many grandchildren that my grandmother had?
Grandchildren?
I should say children. And then out of all the grandchildren, you were the first to attend college.
Correct. There were 11 children that our grandmother and grandfather had. And from the 11 children, off the top, I really can't tell you how many of us there were of grandchildren. But out of those, as you stated, I was the first to go to college.
Oh, my
An
God.
entire family, actually.
And I'm going to say, but that was not the only first. She was the first of two Black women to graduate in her Bachelor of Nursing program. Tell me about that.
Well, I was fortunate enough, as you can remember, growing up, we were transplants from South Carolina. And throughout my years of growth, I'd had the opportunity to be exposed to many opportunities that came my way. And fortunately enough, as I look back, there was always people in the medical field that would support my wanting to go to nursing school and become a nurse. Simply, your mother, Aunt Viney Mae, was a midwife back in the day. And she delivered me in my mom's room that was part of my grandmother's home. And she always counted me in as one of the 85 or 89 children she remembered delivering. Yes.
Oh, my God.
So, in having the opportunity to go to nursing school, there was a sociology teacher at Weaver High that saw something in me. And I will tell the young people today, I was a little hesitant about wanting to share this information. Here I go.
Speak from the heart. That's okay.
The water bag that I am. God afforded me the opportunity, and I want young people to know, even though that happened back into the early 70s. This sociology teacher at Weaver High saw something in me and chose to drive me to St. Anselm's College in Manchester, New Hampshire, to be interviewed, to see the campus, to apply. He was on the admission board there, and it allowed me to take the opportunity that was given to me, or the path that God provided for me to go to St. Anselm's College in Manchester, New Hampshire. Back in the mid-70s, it was definitely a culture shock. It was a culture shock. And I wasn't sure of how I was going to handle this because I wasn't thinking I was going to see a lot of people that looked like me. And so I took the challenge, although I was accepted at another school. I was accepted at UConn Nursing School, but I chose to go to New Hampshire. And lo and behold, My 4 years there were the best years that I could have ever wanted
Wow.
to experience.
Wow.
Because when God opens a door for you and you walk in it, it's all good.
Ah,
It's all good. And having had that exposure actually led me to the workforce that I ended up having the opportunity to serve at a hospital here in the area of the Greater Hartford Hospital. I was able to work there for 44
wow.
years. 44
Wow.
years
Wow.
at Hartford Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of my story and how I was able to start my career in nursing, having gone to St. Anselm's College, graduating, being the first to graduate in my class. Myself and one other young lady were the only two Black nursing students in the class. And just because my last name began with an A, I was the first one, as they called and gave the,
Yeah.
the degrees.
Ah, how special is that?
Yes.
Now I got some more stuff here. Not only was you the first one to graduate as far as the family and then the nursing bachelor's of nursing program, but you were the first Black nurse educator in the division of perioperative services in the hospital where you work. Can you talk about that?
Yes. When I began my career at Hartford Hospital, after going to nursing school, the operating room became a love for me. And it was something that I pursued. And it wasn't always looked at by nursing as an avenue to pursue as a real nurse. To give that little plugs for anyone who's in nursing school and want to be able to practice in an arena of nursing for which you're trained for so many. The operating room was my first love, is still my love, even though I've retired. But nevertheless, I was able to join Hartford Hospital. And at that time, nurses were not considered nurses. They were hired when I was hired as surgical assistants.
Oh.
And so I worked along with administration through the course of the years there in the OR and working with a representative from the Department of Public Health. And we were able to change the title to staff nurse in the operating room. And then as time progressed and opportunities presented, I then became an educator. And the beautiful thing about my career and the path that God had laid out for me was people always came and approached me for the opportunities that were available. Some I applied for, others they just appointed me to. And so being a nurse educator in the operating room allowed me to work with nurses and surgical technologists or any other employee that was hired within that division and orient them to the operating room, its environment, all that it pertained to whichever roles that they were hired into. So I then became an educator. When the department head at the time chose to retire, I then became what they call the not director, but I was the staff development coordinator. So I had the lead role for which I then had anywhere from 3 to 4 educators that worked under me.
Wow.
For several years, I
Wow.
remained in that role.
Wow.
And again, it was an educator. Although I had others working under me, I also, was intricately involved in, orienting and working with employees as they were hired into the operating room.
Wow. And you were the first Black nursing director of professional practice in the division of perioperative services. And I was about to ask, how many people reported directly to you and how many people reported up to them? Do you know how many, or was it?
To say the total number, I had at least and not intentionally wanting to give the wrong number. I had at least maybe 6 nurse managers that reported up to me. And then I had other nurse educators who reported up to me as well within my role there as a director. I worked alongside those managers, those nurse educators, and physician chiefs of various departments as it pertained to anything that dealt with perioperative services, with the operating room, rules and regulations, JACO, the Department of Public Health, whenever there were surveys that were conducted. Often I, along with nurse managers and others, would take the lead as they came through our department. So, and I served in that capacity until I retired, actually. And the beautiful thing about that for me was, again, I was approached and I was placed in the position. I never had to apply.
Wow.
I was placed.
Wow.
Again, when God has a plan for you, it is your plan.
Yes.
And no one else can take it from you. No one. And there were times when I questioned how I was going to be received. Again, because it wasn't a lot of people that looked like me in the role that I was in. And I was able to conduct myself accordingly in the various large tables that I sat at when I needed to represent the profession of nursing as well as the specialty of nursing for operating room nurses. Yes.
I'm smiling from ear to ear because I celebrate you today, cousin, I tell you. So you were a nurse for 44 years and retired last year, right?
Correct.
Okay. How did your journey begin? Did you always know you wanted to be a nurse?
Yes. And I don't know if it was because of the many discussions Mom and I would have around the house when I was growing up, just thinking and talking about becoming a nurse. It was always something that I felt I wanted to do. And again, for the young people, when life began for me and opportunities for our Black children, I started out, even as a child, with all the cards stacked against me. Born to a single mom in the South, transplanted here in the greater Hartford area, mom receiving assistance from the state, food stamps, all of those things that you would need to keep a household, her working in others' households to make money, to supplement the income she was getting from the state. It seemingly were all the cards were stacked against me. But God.
But God. I was going to say, but God.
But God.
Oh.
So that's how all of that began. And she always encouraged me, if you want more out of life, or to have more, you have to work hard for it.
Yes.
You have to work hard. And I remember those words. And in high school, middle school, I was always, as I looked back, I was always involved in many things. I remember volunteering for the Red Cross, where we would assist those who were donating blood. And of course, sometimes when it was time to take the needles out of those who were donating and then removing a bag of blood, some of the nurses will let me do things, you know, so I never was queasy or had any issue as it pertained to that. I was fortunate enough during summer programs where I was allowed to attend summer programs at Westminster School out in Simsbury, which was a private school for men, but they had special programs for students during the summer. There were 2 summers I was able to attend Mrs. Porter's, where I stayed actually on the campus for a couple of weeks. So I pressed my way. I was an honor student in high school. I was a nerd, if you want to call it a nerd. I was a
we were
nerd, as
nerds.
they called it today. And but it didn't bother me because seemingly I had an inner drive that I didn't know that I had that allowed me to be exposed to many things that led to my career,
Yes.
as a nurse.
Yes, yes, wonderful. I know there were many people that helped you, and I know you talked about the gentleman that drove you. But let's start with your mom. What influence did she have in your life, and what lessons did she teach you that you have passed on to your children and grandchildren?
Yes. My mom was,
I know.
she was very special.
Yeah.
I lost her to be 5 years in May. But she was a very hardworking woman. So what she instilled in me, she demonstrated. She worked hard. She only had an 8th grade education. She worked hard. And she even eventually became like a manager for a division of a shoe store downtown because she presented herself in a way that allowed her to take on additional responsibilities such as that. So mom was a mom that back in our generation, many of the kids would talk about, I'm not able to talk to my parents. It was known as a generational gap.
Yeah.
I remember that they would use that language. Mom and I were always able to talk. We talked about anything, even if it was something I didn't agree with. Although she was the parent, we were able to talk about it. When she felt she did something that she should not have done, mom always said, I'm sorry. She always encouraged me. She actually allowed me to do things whereby their other children may not have had the opportunity to do. I remember the story once when she was working at a family's home in Unionville, Connecticut. And she cleaned their home, and it was this one weekend where they asked her to stay there with their children because they wanted to go on a trip or whatever. So she brought me along. But before taking me, she went and got me new pajamas, house coat, bedroom slippers, all those things, because she wanted me to know I could have the same thing that they had, that I didn't have to have less. So those beautiful. It was beautiful because that was something that she said that resonates obviously with me to this day, that if you want something, you can have it, but you have to work hard for it.
Right.
You have to work hard for it. It's not going to always come easy, but you have to work hard for it. So today, I have 2 daughters and one granddaughter. Although my husband and I have a blended family, we came together later in life where his children were older and my girls were older. So I was a single mom for a long time. So having raised them, I instilled in them the same. Work hard. You want something, you have to work hard for it. And now they both have gone to college, have graduated from college. I have a granddaughter who just turned 11 years old, very bright young lady. And even to this very day, there are so many people that have spoken into her life and told her what a great leader she's going to be. She has such good qualities, and I contribute that a lot to her mom, who it is actually beautiful, and it brings a smile to my face to hear her say some of the things that I said to her and to have heard those things that my mom said to me, and she's carried, that on. So it's really, really beautiful. And I have been asked in the past, what did I feel was my greatest accomplishments? And I said it was my 2 daughters.
Yes.
I said because they are young ladies that have goals in life. They want to be something, and they are somebody.
Yes.
They are somebody. And I am very grateful again for God, because I raised them in the church. And it is true, what you put in them, they won't stray from it. I raised them in the church. They are God-fearing young ladies.
Yes, they are.
They are God-fearing young women. And as Christians and as believers, and having a solid foundation,
Yeah.
you can have anything you want
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's in the will of God.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You can
yes,
have anything
yes.
you want. So I
Now,
hope that answered that question.
yes, and I was going to go on to your faith, but I want to talk about your granddaughter, because actually your granddaughter was a guest on my show.
Yes, she
and
was.
people could not believe that she was an 8-year-old. They said 8 years old, and she's asking questions, and she was giving advice to young kids about bullying and all of that. Your grandbaby,
Yes.
at the age of 8,
Yes.
she was a, well, I had young people on before, but they were like performing, singing, was on my very first show. But she was actually there talking and giving advice. And I forget who was the tech that they were like, wow, I didn't think like that back in the day when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the proof right there. And I was going to say right here, huge thing, and it's your faith, and you talked about that a little bit. And I know we call him Daddy Doc, but our apostle. How much influence did he have in your life, your faith in our daddy apostle at St. John's?
Apostle Wilson, from an early age, I was a teenager when I started attending St. John's Full Gospel Deliverance Church. I was 13 years old, if memory serves me correctly. And he as well always instilled in us that we could have anything we wanted. It wasn't always about, and I'll say this, it wasn't always about the material things, but nevertheless, if we chose to have those things, we could have those things.
Mm-hmm.
And as I matured and grew and was given accountability, especially in all the roles that we have spoken about, there is one thing, there are many things that he taught us, but the thing that stuck with me the most was a term that he would often say to us was, your head may be in the clouds, but keep your feet on the ground. So humility was always a practice, or well, however one would describe it, that I held on to, because I always treated people in all of the leadership roles that I had, I treated them how I wanted to be treated.
Right.
I never treated them with a spirit of, I'm higher than you, I'll treat you this kind of way, you have to do what I said just because I said it. That was never my leadership style. I always offered individuals to talk to me, to try to understand if there were ever an issue. Why are you behaving this way? Is there something going on I'm not familiar with? Even with individuals who came into the environment of the operating room who came from different cultures, I would always sit and talk with them and ask them, how do you respond to authority? There were some cultures where women were always considered submissive to their husbands or anyone in leadership, but yet they needed to take on a leadership role.
Right.
They were hired as managers. So what keeps you from speaking up and making sure that what needed to be done was done as it was required to be done or needed to be done? So we found out that some were submissive. So because they were submissive, they weren't always able to speak up, speak out. And I found that to be very important. I actually remembered before I retired, I told one of the leaders, know the people that you work with. Know them, understand them, get to know their background, what may cause them to respond a certain way. And even in doing all of that, you will never learn an individual, but at least you will have something to work with as you work with them, as you lead them. And my leadership team was always a team that was comfortable with what each of us brought to the table. That, I mean, myself and others, and that's what made it beautiful for me, and I will continue to acknowledge that we were all comfortable with what we brought to the table. It was no one person that overshadowed the other. And even if they did, because of the position they held, we were always allowed to question the status quo. Just because you said it, we could question it.
Yeah.
So that made it different for me, made it a wonderful ride for me. And it wasn't always people that looked like me that I had to challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So.
yes. Now you and I, our prayer partners. We have prayer partners.
Correct.
And
Yes.
we call you our angel.
Yes.
But I know you don't like all of this, but I'm doing it anyway.
Not.
That is because you are always helping others. And sometimes people need to know how people feel about them and need to let other people know. Always giving back. You're always giving back. When you worked at the hospital, I would let you know if a friend or whatever was coming in for a procedure or something, and you would go hold their hands, answer questions that they needed, and some would say, before I went to sleep, the last face I saw was Gwen.
Yeah.
And I mean, how special is that? And I know family and friends, I know they would get on your nerves. Family and friends would constantly call and describe something going on with their bodies, and you would try to be so kind. Instead of just saying, listen, just call your doctor. But you would always try, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but, maybe you should give the doctor a call. So you would always have patience with people, and you were always giving back. I remember one day me and you were out, we were shopping for something, and you had a carriage full of, I don't think it was baby clothes or something. And like, what you buying all these baby clothes for? Your granddaughter's not, and you were just buying them for somebody else.
Yes. And I do that, and I do that still to this very day because I've been blessed. And sometimes you get to a point where it's stuff that you feel, I don't really need this, but somebody else needs something.
Yeah.
So if I can take the time or have the money to do it, I don't mind doing it. If I just hear that somebody's in need of something, you know that firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, Teresa, why didn't you tell me such and such needed this? I don't mind doing it. I have the time. And I do this because people helped me. When I was a single mom, there were people that were family and there were people that were not family that watched my children, that allowed me to go to school. So people helped me along the way. I always want to give back because I know that there are individuals out there that need help. So that it comes from a good place because I want to give back. I want to be able to do whatever it is that I can do for someone else because someone else did it for me. So the term out there is to pay it forward. It's just something that I love to do. It's a love that I have to do for others.
Genuine. It's a genuine thing because I would always tell people too, if you didn't know the position that Gwen held, you would know because you wouldn't walk around and tell people, I do this at the hospital, I'm up here. And when they would find out, really? Because you didn't brag about it, and that's what made you so special. I wanted to mention, put in a little plug, since you retired, you did not just sit down and do nothing.
Right.
You started making baskets, but not just any kind of baskets. They always seem to bring a lot of the recipients to tears because of the love and thought that goes into the basket. Not only that you love making them, when I've gone to the store with you to buy the items, all I wanted to do when I get home was rest because we'd be running all over the place. And tell me about the special baskets that you make and how you come up with the ideas and all that to put into these baskets.
As of recent, there was a basket that I made for one of our prayer partners. She had a coworker that was leaving. And so I asked all the questions. Is she a Christian? What's her favorite color? Does she get into Black art? Are there special hobbies that she has or things of that nature. So I asked questions like that to try to make the basket as personal as I could. And when she reported back to us how beautiful the basket was and how she cried and did whatever she did, it actually made me feel good because I don't do a basket just to do a basket. I truly try to ask appropriate questions that would represent that individual. And then I go looking for those kind of things. As you said, you'd be tired, you want to go back home. I do those kind of things because I want it to be personal. And it's therapeutic for me. I love it. I love doing it. I love decorating it. I love putting all the little extra glitter and glam to it. It's just something that I love. And I see it as a ministry because if that's something that I can do for someone that will bring a smile to their heart, it does me good. It does them good. And it's God giving me the talent to do it. So I want to share it with other people.
Yes,
I really want to
yes,
share it. So
yes.
I just, and I've, like you said, I've retired, but I haven't just stopped doing things.
Right,
You know,
right.
so I really do enjoy it.
Well, I talked a little bit about our prayer partners, but when I say our prayer partners, we're a group of ladies that have been together for over 30 years.
Yes.
That we pray every weekday morning, 5:30 in the morning.
5:30 in the morning.
Maybe short, maybe long, but they are a very special group of ladies. So we've been doing that also. And I just want to read this little part here that, makes me kind of full. But it certainly have been a blessing to have you be a part of my journey, cousin, Sister Gwendolyn. We have gone through lots together. As you said before, my mom, who was a midwife, delivered you. There were sad times when both our moms developed dementia, Alzheimer's, or what you want to call it, and passed away. But the thing is, we went through it together.
Yes.
And you always told me that I have your back. And people say that, but I know when you said it to me, I know you meant it.
Yes.
So it's just so, I just want to say that. So it's just so special. Our relationship is so special. And you're just a special person in my heart. And so when it was time for you to come on the program, I said, this might be a little tough for me because you're just such a special person in my life. And I ain't gonna make you sing, but there was a song that you used to sing about our life. It says, when I look back over my life and I think things over, I can truly say, and what God has made a way.
Yes, He has.
I have a testimony.
I have a testimony.
We have a testimony.
Yes, we do.
Oh my
yes,
God.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So I thank you for taking the time and being here with me today. And before we go off, I just want you to look in your camera and give an encouraging word to not only the younger people, but even people our age. Because sometimes I think when people retire or whatever, they think that life is over, but it's not. So an encouraging word to a younger person out there that's just starting out trying to make it, and then older people who have done what they've done, and just to encourage them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for pushing me because I don't like all the fanfare. But what I want to say, particularly to young people, I talked to my daughter who is in her 30s, and I said, you know what? Teresa has asked me to come on the show and talk about my life experiences. And I said, how can a young person be able to identify? I think, oh, it's been so many years ago, things have changed, But the one thing that I want young people to understand is that what God has done for me, however young you are now, and however old I am now, what He's done for me, He can do for you. When opportunities present for you to walk in a door, walk in it. Walk in it with pride, walk in it with humility, Just walk in it, because God only knows the plans that he has for you. And those who support you along the way, remember them. The one thing that I did not say that I want to say now, the sociology teacher at Weaver, Mr. Dees, who took the opportunity, approached me, talked to my mom, drove me to Manchester, New Hampshire, to introduce me to the nursing school at the campus. He did not have to do that. Once I graduated for college, everyone goes their separate ways, but it was on my heart to find him, to tell him thank you.
Yeah.
Don't forget the shoulders that you stand upon to reach your goal in life. Do not forget them. Let them know. And now that I have retired, I know my daughter said to me, Mom, you're the goal in life. That people want to be able to have a career and to be able to retire and feel somewhat financially okay or sound, or whatever the words you choose to use. As Teresa stated, life is not over for us. Life has begun for us now that we're retired. We have prayer partners, as Teresa mentioned, that went back to school to get their doctorate degree. We have one that went back to school to get her bachelor's degree. We have another that has gone back to school and learned a craft, and she makes jewelry now. And she is gifted in the jewelry that she makes. And then there's a fifth young lady that now is working in academia. God has placed her feet at a very large table. Even she was recognized as one of the leading African American women within her college, and she was recognized. And now we have Teresa, who is working at Win TV, who is finding opportunities among others that she can showcase, that she uses her talent to support others. Although she has many other talents with her singing and her acting, life does not end when you retire. It's just beginning. So be blessed and know that God will be with you. He will take care of you. You need to, however, allow him to be in control. And yes, it's easy to just say these words, and it comes with things that we've gone through that have taught us the strength that we can find in God and in our faith. So I would encourage young people, old people, to look to accomplish things in life, and not like just sit on your hands and not do something and be something, because you have the ability to be whatever it is that you want to be if you walk and keep God first. I thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So there you have it, Cousin Sister Gwendolyn.
Yes, Cousin Teresa.
I thank you one more time for being my guest.
Thank you so much for pushing me. Thank you. Thank you.
I just love it. And to the audience out there, when this episode comes out, please share things that are positive. I know we share everything else that's negative, but share the things that are positive and that will give people hope. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.